All right. Hi, Sandra. We have a really, really small session today, i.e. Just you. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. Since it's just you, you can feel free to unmute, share your video. In vast majority of cases, we're working with teachers that use Google Classroom. But happy to go through our directions with Canvas and answer any questions that you have. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And that's a beautiful picture of San Francisco in the background. I can almost feel myself frolicking around the Presidio. Okay. So this is our new user webinar on learning the basics. I'm the facilitator, Brian Story, and I am actually the director of teacher engagement at Assistments. We're going to go ahead and dive in. For Zoom, we'll sort of ignore these directions because it's just you with us here today, Sandra. Those who register for the session will get a follow-up email with a copy of the slide deck and video recording. The session is going to be interactive, so make sure that you go to assistments.org and log in with your teacher account if you have it. If not, that's totally fine. We have some other options available for folks. And before we move on, okay. Moving right along. With that, I will turn it over to Carrie.
Hi, so my name is Carrie. I'm the program associate here at Assistments. And so today we're really just talking about how to get started with the basics of using Assistments. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what the platform is, how to create an account, how to create an assignment, and then what the student experience looks like, as well as like how you can then take all of the data to assess class performance and inform your instruction. And then we'll share some tips on like how do you present this to students so that they're set up for success. All right.
So like I said, I'm Brian Story. I'm the director of teacher engagement at Assistments. Prior to this work, I was a public school teacher in DC and Norfolk, Virginia for a decade. And I'm a proud graduate of the College of William and Mary and the American University. And with that, I will turn it over to Carrie.
So like I said, I'm the program associate here at Assistments. Prior to this role, I was actually in the classroom as well. I taught in the Chicago Public Schools, specifically 7th and 8th grade math. And I am a huge cheerleader when it comes to Assistments. I used it in my classroom and it completely transformed my teaching practice. And so I'm really sort of excited to be a part of the team now and to share it more broadly with teachers.
Excellent.
All right, so I get a chance to kind of give you a little overview of what Assistments is. And so what it is a free formative assessment tool. I think that's one of the reasons why I started with Assistments because it was free. It seamlessly integrates with Canvas. And Brian, do you mind changing the slide for me? Thank you. And what's really cool is that all the open education resources are actually on Assistments content library. So you have a collection of problems to choose from. And I think specifically for my students that I really enjoyed is it really sort of fosters a growth mindset for them in wanting to persevere through problems. All right, Brian, next slide. So essentially, like I said, before that, essentially what I said is it gives regular and timely feedback for students. It's a formative data tool that I can actually use to inform my daily instruction. So I can have that data quickly to be able to then address needs in class and quickly identify which students need additional support in small groups, which students are ready for additional challenges. And essentially students really liked it because they got to be independent and autonomous. And so there's a lot of evidence backed in assessments and using it backed by research, right? We're one of 3 middle school math interventions with a tier 1 rating by evidence for ESSA. And we've been proven to show narrowing of the achievement gap. Again, for teachers, it's essentially like a lot of us use it and it really just saves us a lot of time without needing to scour the internet when it comes to high quality practice problems for students. It's effective for students because they get that immediate feedback and we can use that data to really target and hone in on student needs. So the typical teacher routine is that you would assign a problem, right? Students complete it, and then you'd have to grade it. And then from that grading, you use it to inform your instructions. I always really got stuck in like step 3 or step 4, like it just like time wise is really where this program kind of saved me a lot of time personally. With assessments, you basically as a teacher would assign, but you have a content library full of practice problems that you can use. When students are doing that, it's great because they actually get immediate feedback right away. So no more of like, is this right? They actually get that immediate feedback and can analyze their own work. And so it kind of keeps the class moving along. For us as teachers, you get the data report immediately, which is great. And then you can use that data report to then turn it into action for your lesson.
All right, thank you, Carrie. And so now we're just going to dive into creating an account with Canvas. And so basically any Canvas teacher is free to use assessments however they like. They do this through their institution Canvas account. To do that, your Canvas administrator has to follow the steps linked in the slide deck here, which again is posted in the chat. And quick question, since it's just you, Sandra, has your Canvas administrator already set up the integration with assessments?
Yeah, last year I used assessments a little bit, but I did watch or was on your webinar the other day about the new look, and that makes me even more excited to try it out a lot more this year. So yes, I have used it a little bit, and it did integrate on our Canvas.
Awesome, awesome. One quick note on that, we have added 2 more scopes to the integration to the basically the developer key that your Canvas administrator sets up. So you will want them to add those, and it's updated in the directions. So just to make sure that you have full and complete access without issue, they need to basically just click 2 more boxes in order to make sure it works properly. And we can answer any other questions about that toward the end as well if you have them.
Okay.
Alrighty. So basically, in order to set up that integration, your Canvas administrator can click more instructions on the sort of Canvas login page here, takes them to this link, which will show them what they need to use in order to set up the integration. This is the part that has a couple more elements to be added, a couple more scopes. And once that's done, all you have to do is go to assessments.org, click sign in, and with Canvas, search for your institution's login URL and click login. So we're going to dive into step 1, which is assigning online from our extensive assessments content library. And we're using the framing of walking through this process as a teacher. So we have James Wilson, and he's a 7th grade math teacher using assessments for the first time. And so we want to understand, or he needs to understand, what he needs to do to get started with our platform. So first, he needs to be able to find the content he wants to assign online from the content library. And we have a wide variety of content. We have our open educational resources, including Kendall Hunt Illustrative, Open Up, Engage New York, and Utah Math. All of these can be used to enhance existing curriculum that the teacher uses in a way that gets you quick data and immediate data from the students, and also gives the students immediate feedback on their work as they go. We also have some curriculum aligned tools from Jump Math and also in our collaboration with the Louisiana Department of Education. We have the Eureka Fluency supports for grades 6 through 8 and those Jump Math tests and quizzes from grades 3 through 8. We also have in-house built Common Core aligned content, our skill builders, which are mastery based, meaning students have to get 3 questions correct in a row in order to demonstrate mastery on the standard. Questions are assigned randomly to students, so every student basically gets a different set of questions that align to that standard. And then we have problem solving sets, which function just like our regular problem sets. These are also each aligned to a specific standard and are there for that extra practice if students need it. And then we have our release state tests, including Massachusetts and New York, for that state test practice in an environment where students can get immediate feedback on their work. We'll start off by talking about the enhanced search tools here. Now when you go into assessments, and if you log in from the website, by the way, let me go there. Until August 12th, when you go to log in, it's going to log you into our old look. And you can go and see the new look by clicking try our new look here. But on August 12th, when you log in, you're just going to see this new look. So it'll only be this redesign that we've done. And so in the Find and Assign tab, you can still browse through the content folders as normal. Sandra, do you have a curriculum in particular that you use? No worries.
No,
Not a problem, not a problem. So you can pull from any of the resources in the library by using the folder structure as normal, or you can search for a standard. And so I'm just going to show what that looks like, or a key term. So let's say I want to go with the standard for inequalities in grade 7. Our platform is going to pull up every single problem that aligns with that standard. In this case, there are 236 of them, as well as if there's a skill builder, and we do have one of those. Just to note that you don't see the problems in this completely, and you can't choose them because, again, students are assigned problems randomly from a long set. And then with the problems from the rest of our platform, you can filter those by the particular curriculum they come from, or just scroll through them and see if you like any of them and select them. So that was basically search by standard. Now we're going to just check in on James. So he teaches Open Up, and it makes the most sense for him to assign from Open Up. So he wants to know how to assign. And so the first step to that is going to be to select content. And so I'm going to go to Open Up Resources, and just for the purpose of the demo here, I'm going to go into Unit 2, Lesson 2, and you'll notice that with any of the open education resources, in a particular lesson, if there are multiple components, we now list those as tabs at the top. But let's say I want to assign a few practice problems, not all of them. So I'll click, I'll deselect, select all, and then I'm just going to go down and pick a couple of these problems to assign. And then I'll click Assign to Class. From here, I can edit the title, then pick my LMS, in this case, Canvas. Then I'm going to select my course to assign to. And the first time you do this, or if you have class or roster updates, you want to go click Import and Sync. Import allows you to import any classes in your Canvas instance. And Synchronize will update our platform if you have students change classes, or a student gets dropped from one class and put another. Clicking Synchronize will make sure our system is updated with that so that your reports reflect the correct data. And then you can select problem order, which is another new component. And from here, you can choose linear, which means students get the problems in the order they appear. Random, where students each get randomly assigned the problems in the problem set you've assigned. And student choice, where students can actually select which problems, they can see them all and select which problems they want to initiate and complete themselves. And finally, the release due date and time. Release date, due date, and times, you can still do those as well. So I'm going to just select my class here, and I'm going to assign to that class. Because I'm logged into a lot of different Canvas and Google Classroom instances, it's going to ask me to log in again. So I'm going to do that. Typically, that's not going to happen for you as a teacher. Click Authorize. And we'll try this one more time. There we go. And so it's going to tell you that your assignment was successfully created. So now saving to my problem sets. This is a pretty cool process. So you can now make custom problem sets and save them for later use by combining problems from any content resource that you like. And just for the purpose of this, and it sounds like that might come in handy because you may find problems from different curricula, et cetera, that you want to put into one assignment. So let's just say for the sake of argument here, I'm just going into grade 7 for Engage New York. And let's say I really like this first problem, so I'm going to select that. Instead of clicking Assign to Class, I'm going to click this down arrow, and I'm going to click Save to My Problem Sets. And I'm just going to call this the 804 demo. Click Create and Save to Problem Set, and done. But let's say I want to add some problems from another source in our content library. So I'll go again over here to Open Up. Maybe I want to pull some problems from that lesson we were just looking at. And so I'll pick just this second problem here, and I'll go to that down arrow again, click Save to My Problem Sets, search for that problem set I just created, and click Save. So now that means that you can access that problem set from My Problems. If I click on the 8.4 demo, you can see it has that Engage New York problem, and it also has the Open Up Resources problem that I added. And from here, you can select them and assign them to your classes whenever you like. So you can always come back here and reassign or even modify problem sets. If you click the triple dot here, you can edit the problem set details. You can delete it, preview it as a student, which we'll talk about, or even duplicate it. We talked about those assign time options. So when you go to assign, again, you're choosing, you're either modifying the title or leaving it the same, picking your LMS, in this case, Canvas, to assign to, and then choosing the classes that you'd like to assign to. And you can assign to as many or as few of your classes as you like, choosing the problem ordering, either linear, random, or student choice, and then those release or due dates as well. Just to give you an idea of what student choice looks like, when you choose that as a setting, the problems will appear, as you can see here on the screen, in the student view, where they can look at the problems, and then if they want to start and finish one, they can click Start Problem. That will take them into the problem set or into that particular problem so that they can finish it. And when they're finished, it'll bring them back to this screen where they can select another problem. Just a quick note that once a student enters a problem, they have to enter, they have to complete it before they're able to select another and move on. So what we want to do now is just give you a chance to sort of navigate the fresh new look. And so Carrie just shared the link in the chat if you want to get the direct link to the fresh new look. And we just wanted to give you 3 minutes just to sort of explore the content library, select some questions and save them to My Problem Sets to give that a try, and then click My Problem Sets so that you can view the problems that you selected. So I'm just going to start a little timer and give you a chance to explore that, and we'll come back together in 3 minutes. Alrighty. We did want to note before we move on to the next section that you can copy and paste links in Canvas if you'd like to put multiple links in one assignment. But that if you do this, our links are class and roster specific, so you can't copy paste links from one class into another. If you do that and a student in that other class clicks it, they'll just get an error screen. And that was a lot of information. So I want to give just a chance, Sandra, to pause. And if you have any questions, you can share those aloud, or if you're all set, you can give us a thumbs up and we can move on.
Okay, my question was when I went in here and I, did just the inequality search, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Attention,
Sorry,
staff,
they're
and
gonna.
students who are on campus.
No worries.
This is just a quick message. The rules around managing COVID on campus, we are required to have masks on when we are inside. I was reminded by Nurse Patty of this. She has given me permission to make her the bad guy in this, but let's make sure that we do have our masks on while we are inside. Thank you very much.
At least you guys are remote right now, it looks like, so you don't have to worry about this mask stuff, right?
Yeah, although to be honest, I'm hearing about family members getting sick now, so I wish some of them would have wore some more masks.
Boy, I know my husband's totally against it and stuff, and I'm like, no, I know we're both vaccinated, but when I go places, I'm still putting my mask on. I just,
Yep.
Scary right now. So, okay, what my question was again, how did you assign things to a problem set? So I've got some problems here
Sure.
that I clicked on a couple problems, but now how do I put it into a problem set?
Right. So if you want to add it to an existing problem set,
Or just create?
yeah, just create it. So in the bottom right-hand corner, once you've selected your problems, you click that down arrow. You click into my problem sets, and if you're making a new one, you can type in the title that you want.
Okay.
Yep, and that will allow you to then create and save it. And if you want to add any additional problems to it, you can just or existing problems to an existing problem set, you can just type in the name of that problem set and choose it and save those additional problems to the problem set.
So like even with the skill builder then, because I think that's where I was having.
Yeah, skill builders, you can't assign specific problems because
I see.
the way a skill builder functions is that it's a large group of standards aligned problems, and kids are just randomly assigned problems from the big set. So it's not quite like a regular problem set, but I'm glad you brought that up. It's an important clarification. Any other questions? All righty. So now we're going to move on. Now that we've spent some time talking about how to assign, we're going to go through step two, which is students getting immediate feedback as they complete their problems. And so we're just going to go back and check in with James. He wants to know what his student's experience will look like in assessment so that he can best support positive culture around the platform. And so I'm going to demo this live. And as I demo it through the lens of a student, we would just like you to share in the chat, what do you notice while the assignment's being completed, and what do you wonder? And so just going over here. Now, there are different ways that you can demo as a student, right? For instance, if I want to, if I'm in my assistance account as a teacher, I can click this drop down and click preview as a student, and it's going to allow me to complete those problems as a student. And in this case, let's see, sending. I can also go over to my assignments, the things I've already assigned, and I can click the triple dot here and click preview as a student. So you can do this right from within a problem set in my assignments or in my problems, if you like. But for the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to go to our student account and show you what this looks like. So let me just refresh this really quickly. And then here's the assignment that I created. And here's the student link. All right. So let's say on this first problem, I know exactly what the answer is. I type it in. I click submit. It tells me that I'm correct. Notice the score bar is still at 100%, and I got a green check indicating I got it correct on the first attempt. But on this next problem, maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I have forgotten what the connection is between the previous problem and the idea of consonant proportionality. So if I put an incorrect answer in, it tells me that it's not correct. The score bar will go down to 67%, indicating I got an incorrect response. But then on the next try, I'm able to figure it out. And it tells me that I'm correct. And I get a green X indicating I got it right on the second or the third attempt. And then on this problem, let's say I'm really struggling. As I put my attempts in, notice the score bar. But then maybe I can have a quick conversation with the teacher, get some reteaching, and then I'm able to figure the problem out and put the correct answer in. It's still going to tell me I'm correct. The score bar does go down to 0, indicating it took me more than 3 attempts to get it right. And that's also indicated by the red X up here. And then we have our open response boxes where you can put a typed response. You can also have students share a link or embed a video or a picture, including a screenshot of their work. You can have students click the square root symbol here and enter any math type associated with the problem. Or you can have students insert a table, a custom table of their choosing. And let's say on this last problem, I'm really confused and I don't know what to do. And in order to move on, I have to click that show answer button. Notice that the score bar automatically goes to 0 and it gives me the correct answer. But when I put that in, it's going to give me a yellow highlighted red X. That means something has gone wrong. The student either doesn't understand this material and had to click show answer, or they're trying to game the system and need discussion around behavioral expectations in the platform and making their best effort. But regardless, that shows you that some sort of intervention is needed. Then as a student, I click finish assignment, click exit. And it's going to take me into this student report here. And from here, this allows me as a student to hover over any problem to see what I was responding to. It allows me to see my average score as well as my score on each problem. If a teacher has provided scoring and feedback on the open response, they can do that here. Although I haven't done that yet for this student, so you can't see it. And then there's the class average score and if they used any hints as well. So I did want to just pause for a moment and see if you had any noticings or wonderings as we went through the student experience there, Sandra. Nope, you're all set? All right.
I think I'm okay.
All righty. So like just to recap, the students access the assignment from within Canvas. When they click it, it's going to take them to that embedded link. As a note, when they click this for the first time, they're going to have to click this button to create a new account in order to proceed. If you notice that a student is not appearing in your report after your first assignment, that means that they have not yet clicked the link to that first assignment and started working on it. But once they've done that, then they will appear in your assignment report. And again, just to recap, students can see one question at a time and answer it, and they get immediate feedback underneath the question box as they submit. So they get that corrective feedback on correct or incorrect. And then also they have the option to click show answer, but that brings their score to 0, gives them the correct answer so that they're able to move on. And then in that student assignment report, again, they can hover over and review the problems they answered, see their average score or scores on individual problems. Here's an example of what it looks like when a teacher scores and provides written feedback on an open response. and then they can see those class averages as well and hints. So I'll pause here and see if there are any questions that we can answer.
I mean, I really like just the fact that they get that immediate feedback, and then it also helps me to see, like you said, if they're trying to just guess, or if they actually, if they tried it once and see they didn't get it right, they try again. I mean, I like the feedback. I'm going to be trying standards-based grading this year, and so that's why I thought this would be a great platform for me to be able to use, so that I can give them feedback as well as they can get that immediate feedback, and be able to work through things. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we've gone through the student experience, we're going to talk a bit about analyzing the data as a teacher instead of having to do all that work to grade papers and whatnot. And a quick note before we dive into that for Canvas teachers: if your Canvas courses are cross-listed, meaning you have a parent course with multiple child courses, currently what that means is that your data reports will contain all of the students from the parent and the child courses. We don't currently have a way around that at this time, but just wanted to foreground that in case you notice, like, oh, all of my kids from all my classes are appearing in the data report. That will happen. And then coming back to James, now that he understands that student experience, he needs to learn how to interpret the data. And so in our assignment report, so we're going to dive into that. The same way that the student accesses the data report is the same for the teacher, accesses their assignment. It's the same way that the teacher accesses their data report by clicking that embedded link in their teacher account. Right now, when you click that, it takes you into the old report style, and you have to click Fresh New Look to see the updated version. But I'm also going to go ahead and just show you what this looks like from within ASSISTments, where you can now also look at those data reports. And so if I click on an assignment, let me make sure I did this right. All right. Just find the right assignment. And you'll notice here, you can click the assignment, see how many students have completed it, the number of problems assigned, if there was a release and due date, and any standards. Realizing, Carrie, we should have labeled the one as completed by many, but that is okay. And of course, it's the one at the very top. So I should have just clicked that one from the beginning and saved us the trouble. So if I go into View Report, you'll see our new and improved assignment report. And I just want to walk through some of the key elements of this. So first of all, you've got the title of the problem set, but then you've got a tab that says problems and a problem that says a tab that says standards. We'll return to what standards looks like in a minute. But if you look at just the regular report here, first you'll see the student cards. And so these show you the progress of students. If you have students that haven't started, you can click it and see who they are. If there's an in progress student, you can see who it is and when was the last time they worked on the assignment. You can click completed and you'll see all the students that completed the assignment and when it was finished. Again, you can see who was assigned the problem set in general as well by clicking this last one. The performance summary is going to show you how many students on each question were able to get it correct on the first attempt, correct eventually after multiple attempts, or those that had to click a hint or show answer in order to move on, and so they're marked as incorrect here. You can also filter this by those different types of results if you'd like to just see one of them. And then you get to the detailed report, which is sort of our secret sauce, and it's also the part of the report that's going to be most familiar for those who use the old version of ASSISTments. So you'll see a few things here. You still see the problems at the top, listed at the top. Now you can click them and it just pops out into a student view pane on the side that you can expand or collapse instead of taking you to a new window in the student view, so you can access those problems more easily. So each column is a problem. And then for the rows, you still got that problem average and the average score across the class. You've got those common wrong answers. So if 3 or more students put the same incorrect answer, then it'll show you what that incorrect answer was. In this case, 1, and then the percentage of incorrect students who put that answer. So 44% of incorrect students put the answer 1. And then you dive into the sort of student rows. So each row is going to show their average score and their scores on each individual problem. You'll see if there's an open response. You can just now you can just click assess, and that's going to take you into the open response scoring screen, essay scoring screen. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. Oh, sorry, my Zoom pane. Every time I try to go back to the previous tab, the Zoom pane comes up. So let me see if I can. Oh, nope, it's not going to let me do it that way. Try it this way. There we go. All right. So it'll show you that information as well as hints and time spent. You can now also click these color ovals if you want to see what the student did on that specific problem. So you can see the number of attempts, if they used any hints, all of that. You'll notice that there are some additional symbols here. So at the top of the report, you can always click scoring to see what those symbols mean. A triangle means that they've used a hint, and an X means an incorrect attempt, right? So if we look at the report here, we can see a student made 3 incorrect attempts here. And so that's just an easy way to understand how the student worked through the assignment. You can also, as we recommend to share the data with students, you can hide columns. So you can hide the names, you can hide the average scores, the time spent, and the hints. If you'd like to curate the data somewhat before you share it with students. And you can also download as a CSV, download the detailed report as a CSV file or upload those scores into Canvas. And so uploading to Canvas is pretty straightforward. You click upload. If you upload after you've done it before on an assignment, it'll tell you, or it's just going to tell you that this will override those scores. You click upload. And then it'll tell you at the bottom here that the scores were uploaded to Canvas successfully, where you can access them from your gradebook and modify them accordingly as you choose. And then with each student, if you want to see the student details report, you can just click, sort of click the student's name, and that's going to show you the play-by-play for each student, including the number of attempts they made, whether they were correct or incorrect, how much time they spent on each attempt. You can even click show all problems to see what problem they were responding to. And you can shuffle between students here at the top by clicking next or previous, or clicking the drop down and selecting the next student whose detail report you'd like to see. The other thing you can do here is if you click the triple dot next to a student's name, you can delete their progress, and this will allow the student to go to the same link in the same assignment in Canvas, but when they click it, it'll start them at the beginning of the assignment so that they can make another attempt. Alrighty. So just to recap what we just covered, you'll go to My Assignments, or you can just click the link embedded in your Canvas account, and then you can click that assignment and click View the Report. The report's going to show you those student progress cards, the performance summary, and the detailed report. Within the detailed report, you'll see the individual student scores, any common wrong answers, the class average score on the whole assignment, the individual score by problem across the class, the details on the number of attempts that they made as they completed the assignment, and so on. And then we've got the standards report. So this is something we're really excited about. So when you're in the top of the report here and you click standards, now it's going to show you that data in a standards report. And I'm realizing this is empty. So I'm actually just going to go over here to my assessments account and log out, and I'll go to a report from Google.
As you're doing that, I can tell you a little bit more of like I was a standards-based school too, and just kind of like looking at what you can do capability-wise with this report is it'll actually show you the specific standard that those problems tie to, and then the number of problems you had in that standard when you look at that standards report. So it's really great to kind of like, if you have a separate grade book, because it doesn't accumulate over time, but to document that across standards for students, kind of you can help show growth over time.
So while we're waiting for this to load, it should be up here in just a second. And I'm going to go to an assignment report that's pre-populated here. So when I click that standards report, here's what we want to see, right? So any standards that were aligned to the problems you assigned will be represented as columns. Underneath that, you'll see the number of problems that align to that standard. And then the scores for students are broken down for their average on that specific standard, depending on how they responded to the problems associated with it. So this is really useful for teachers that do standards-based grading, or if you want to target your practice around standards, just a really useful tool that we've added in that we're really excited about. All right, coming back to James, he notices that the assignment report contained lots of detailed actionable data, and he wants to know where to focus his time when reviewing the data report, given that he has limited amount of time.
Can I take the next section?
Oh, yeah, go right ahead, Carrie.
Awesome. So this is kind of my favorite part too, and really kind of what hooked me into using assistants more on a daily practice. But you can see a lot of things from the data report, like the class average, and this is great to just kind of quickly assess, like, did my kids get that? Like, did they understand that exit ticket post that standard that I was teaching? You can look at the problem average, so it kind of helps you hone in on maybe specific problems that you want to go over with the entire class. Common wrong answers are a great way to sort of facilitate discussion in class, and was one of my favorite things to do is like, why would students think of this answer? And like, we can kind of talk through it. And then individual scores are great for like pulling small groups and reteaching specific content. So I'm going to take a look at a PDF here, and this won't have the same interactivity that you will have when you have your data report. But here is a great snapshot of a data report, and just kind of taking a moment to look at the data. What kind of questions do you have about the data, or what kind of action steps might you take just by looking at this information? And we'll give you a few minutes to sort of skim it.
Now, this is the same one you put in the chat for me to put up here, right?
It's different from the PowerPoint, but yeah, the one in the chat, I would love you to take a look at.
Okay.
Analyze. Pretend this was your class data. A quick snapshot of it. Ryan, I'm not sure we need the full time. Sandra, what are some of your initial thoughts about the data?
Okay, so what I'm looking at is I noticed that with the colored dots that there were a couple students that got 100% on the problems, but then when I look down here at the bottom part, it doesn't, I don't think I'm understanding what those numbers are telling me, because I don't see any I thought I would see that it says there's 3 students that got 100% or something, but I don't see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I do, yeah. Maybe specifically like student 12. If you notice, student 12 has like 4 green 100%, right?
Okay.
33 where they like had 2 incorrect answers and then got the answer correct. So it's like the 2 little X's kind of show they had 2 incorrect attempts and then got it right. If I scroll down and I find student 12 in that standards-based report, this is the part that's kind of cool. You can see that on the first standard, 7 RPA, they got 100% on that one. 7GA, they got 100%. So and if you look, there were 2 questions in each of those sections. So there were 2, and so that's the 4 questions they got correct. So they would have gotten that standard, but you can see that last one, the 6.RPA, they didn't do so well on, right? And that would be that 5th question they got incorrect. But you can sort of see from the standards base, like a lot of students missed that last standard. So it might be something of like a reteach or a check-in, or maybe looking at that specific problem that was assigned. So you can kind of dive in a little bit more into that data with like the information that you get. But like also like what I love, when we'll talk more about this, when I'll give you the link to our deep dive webinar next week. But you can we'll talk a little bit more about like how you might hone in on this data, because it is a lot to look at, but it's like, you can kind of see student 1 didn't spend very much time on it and got them all wrong, whereas student 9 spent like 10 minutes and got them all wrong. And so your conversation with each kid might be a little different based on that data and information, right? So like, there's a lot to analyze. And so we dive into that a lot more in part 2.
Okay.
All right. But as you're getting started, we can kind of talk about like, how do you set up your kids for success, especially at this beginning of the year, to like love the platform, right? And really, but I'll let you ask any questions about the data first. Do you have anything?
No, that helped a lot. I guess I just didn't understand, how to read the standards report. But yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I'm like, again, huge fan, cheerleader for this all the way. But setting up your students for success is kind of one great thing to really do at the beginning of the year. It kind of builds their buy-in to this, really doing that. So now that James understands the basics, we really want his students to get comfortable with the platform. And so setting up students for success, you're not alone. We actually have a bunch of resources that you can use, and it's linked in the chat, but I want to kind of go over what is available in there. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the link again to the slide deck. So that again?
Yeah, I got the slide deck earlier. I put it in.
Perfect. Just want to make sure you have these resources in easy access. But we do have a student tutorial that walks students through, especially if they're using Canvas, how their assignment is going to look. You can share this tutorial with families as well. But like really just getting them to like know what it's going to look like, what those symbols mean before they start are super helpful. Tip number 2 is going to be assigning a low stakes problem set. And so what I mean by that is we have a lot of student practice assignments available that you can just kind of give them that first week of school and just kind of have them sort of practice with it and just understand how the platform works. So like, okay, what is the feedback they're getting? What is that? And so they can kind of like get used to that before they have to do it with like an assignment that would be assessed, right? We might look at formatively, like it's low stakes in this case. I highly recommend this one. Really having kiddos practice with the open response. And so practice really kind of like, how do I upload a photo of my work here? How do I use that math type? And so using that tutorial really helps them feel comfortable in doing those things with their device. And then finally, your consistency with it, right? And so when you're really consistent as a teacher with it, kiddos, and especially if you're using the data, kiddos just have that buy-in because it has so much value. And so choosing something small, and we're going to talk about this in a later webinar as well. It's our new part 3 webinar that's going to happen in September. But really kind of thinking about an entry point that you can be really consistent with. So whether it's homework or just like a daily warm-up question or just using it for exit tickets to get information is like being really consistent with that at first helps students with that buy-in to the platform. All right, and finally, the success is really to help foster that growth mindset in them. It's great because they get the individual feedback, and letting kids know that you're rewarding those multiple attempts is really key. That it's really around their like learning and their growth around it, not necessarily that they got it right on the first try. All right, Brian, I'm gonna let you take Canvas tips.
Alrighty. So tips for using assessments with Canvas. After you push an assignment to Canvas, you can always click edit in the assignment so that you can modify who it's assigned to. You can select individual students or subgroups. And once you save, only those students will be able to access the assignment link. So that's definitely an option you should pursue if you want to differentiate for different subgroups of students. And by the way, as a note to that, if you plan on assigning to subgroups, we would recommend putting a release date and time so that you can go in and edit it before students actually have a chance to access it ahead of time. You can add helpful instructions. Again, in that edit screen, you can add external links or anything like that. Or linking to one of our student tutorials for assistance in the directions for the assignment. You can embed instructional videos, which might that are centered around the content that students might want to take a look at to reference as they're completing an assignment from assessments. And then you can send individual student messages with feedback based on assessments data. So you can do that by clicking, I believe, the little mail symbol here after you've clicked a student name. If you have this feature enabled in your Canvas instance, you can click discussions and post a discussion topic based on any feedback you've left or class-wide data that you've left so that you can get students to respond to that data. And so now we are going to move on to our wrap up and next steps, and I'm going to hand it back off to Carrie. Carrie.
Oh, mute. Would you hit the next slide, please?
Uh-huh.
All right. Awesome. So hopefully you feel like you've met the goals for our part 1 webinar where you know how to set up an account, create assignments, particularly able to customize based on the standards you might be teaching, understand how it looks for the student experience, know just a little bit about how to assess class performance. And again, our webinar part 2, deep dive in data, highlights that even more. And then our part 3 really helps you use it with success. And so we've got a couple of upcoming webinars, definitely worth checking out. And then hopefully you got enough tips and suggestions to feel like you're going to get started with success.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, like I said, we have that webinar for part 2. And so I wanted to make sure you have that link. It is next Tuesday at 4 p.m. And then we also have a recording of it if you'd like to. It is using a later, our legacy data report. So it won't necessarily focus as much on standards. All right, if you have a chance, we would love to get some of your feedback on this session. And so this would be the Canvas one, which I believe is the 3rd one as a title, just some feedback from today's session. I'll give you a few minutes to sort of fill that out.
And Carrie just shared that in the chat. And while you're working on that, we have lots of awesome sessions coming up. In addition, we have our a new session that we're doing, which is our new user part 3 in September. We have a 30-minute deep dive on common implementation challenges and our top solutions for them. Again, in later September, 9/21. We have a 30-minute deep dive on skill builders on October 21. And then we also have our targeted webinar, which we're really excited about on October 26th, which is using assessments to address unfinished learning, which we know is top of mind for teachers right now.
Can I tell you something real quick? When I filled out this survey the other day for the other webinar I did, you got it so that, you know, 1 is at the top and 5 is at the bottom. At first, I just went ahead and just clicked 1. And then after a while, I looked at it very unsatisfied. No, that's not what I meant, you know? So I don't know if that might be something in the future, if you change it so that the 5 is at the top and the 1 is at the bottom, or if there's a reason you've got it this way. But I mean, you know, I went through it kind of quickly, and I'm glad I caught it before I sent it off to you, because I didn't want to give you the impression that I was unsatisfied, but I almost did.
That is actually really great feedback. I was hoping to get some sort of feedback on that. This is a new survey response that we've created. And so there is no rhyme or reason for why it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can definitely go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Or just because, you know, that I strongly agree. And yeah, but anyways.
And, you know, that is actually a survey best practice to do it in descending order. So that's great that you brought that up, Sandra. We appreciate that. All right. Didn't mean to monopolize, Carrie. I know you're, you can go ahead and proceed if you like.
Oh, awesome. I think the last thing is hoping that you will connect with us for more resources. We do have a user resource on our website, which has a lot of the links that we shared, as well as additional information. So if you're on our website and click Help Center, you can find our user resources as well as our frequently asked questions to help you find some quick answers as you're sort of exploring and getting started with using assessments in Canvas. We also have a Facebook community and other ways to sort of connect with us. I don't know if you have social media, but we would love to have you join that Facebook community. We're on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well. And as always, you can just email us if you have any questions at contact@assistments.org.
And just curious, Sandra, based on what you learned today, what's your priority next step with getting started with assessments this year?
What's my priority? I'm sorry, I was trying to type something on there.
You're good.
You know, I'm really excited about trying to, like you know, one of the things you mentioned about being consistent in using it, because last year, I think with the pandemic and I was a classic teacher, but we were virtual a lot of the year. So it was just like, if students had issues getting in or whatever, I wasn't able to help them. So I didn't utilize it as much. And then, so I'm looking forward to this year really being consistent, really getting students, like you said, the first couple weeks, I've already got planned out some different things that I want to be a consistent part of my routines, and I want them to know how to do it. So I'm glad you brought that up too, just the fact that I can, you know, do a low stakes kind of, you know, problem set with them just to get them familiar with it. And really, I mean, I feel like this is something that I really want to implement. And I believe that as I'm excited about it, I should be able to bring along a lot of my other colleagues with me. But if not, I don't care. I'm still going to do it.
And sometimes starting small is like great, right? And like I was able to start small, and then when they actually saw the impacts, they were like, "Oh, what is that?" Like, and so like that was kind of how to sort of bring them along too. And I know you've probably got something scheduled with Brian, because I know you were interested in.
Sorry, what was that?
The custom PD stuff.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I did send you a follow-up with a link to schedule some time with me and discuss any custom PD that you might be interested in. So definitely check that out. And yeah, in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at contact@assistments. And thanks, Sandra, for joining us today.
All right. Well, it was great getting individualized attention here, huh?
No problem. Not a problem. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Uh-huh.